So this video is going to cover how Adolf Hitler reorganized the Nazi Party following his release from prison in order to try and get more votes in the Reichstag. So here's the context. Although banned after the Munich Putsch, the ban on the Nazi Party was lifted in February 1925 when he was told, the Nazi Party can exist again as long as you promise not to try and take over the country by force. Hitler obviously had already decided that anyway, so this wasn't really a punishment. So Hitler relaunches the Nazi Party following a switch in tactics. The party is reorganized to appeal to voters to win votes in the Reichstag rather than just membership. Hitler made it a national party, active throughout Germany rather than just in Munich or Bavaria, spreading it wider than it had been beforehand, with a policy of votes, not violence. This time Hitler, as I've mentioned, is trying to appeal to voters to win seats in the Reichstag so that he could take power legally. The Nazis become an active party throughout Germany. What we'll take a look at is how did they do it? Well, the first thing is the Bamberg Conference. Whilst Hitler was in prison, there were obviously challenges to his leadership and questions about his leadership of the Nazi Party. Two of these people, being Gregor Strasser and Joseph Goebbels, they had believed that the party should move towards the left and become more socialist so that it could get votes from the working classes. However, at the Bamberg Conference, Hitler calls for a party conference in Bamberg in Bavaria, in which he basically reiterates his belief and says, no, we're doing it my way. We're not shifting to the left. These are the Nazi Party beliefs. If you don't like it, find another political party. We're not changing. At the end of this conference, Hitler's leadership is confirmed. He gets the support of the party. Goebbels, having now experienced Hitler firsthand, becomes one of his closest supporters, later becoming his minister for propaganda. So basically he calls this conference, says, no, we're sticking to our principles and we're not changing. We're not moving towards socialism. Then we see the effectiveness of Goebbels' propaganda. Goebbels organizes party propaganda using posters and newspapers to skillfully appeal to different demographics or different groups within society, workers, farmers, middle classes, business owners, all these groups. For example, he discovered that their anti-Jewish message had most appeal amongst working classes, so increases anti-Semitic propaganda in working class areas. The Nazis were also the only political party to run evening classes to train their members in public speaking skills. What they've obviously recognised here is Hitler's skills as an orator are getting them support, so they want to train other Nazis to have the similar or the same magnetism to this, the same oratory skills. They also introduced party rallies, or perfects their party rallies. These were visual demonstrations of the Nazi Party's strength, deliberately militaristic to appeal to people. And then you get the Sturmabteilung. This is a change from beforehand. Effectively, before they were sort of violent thugs. Now they are rebranded to look like more of an aspirational organisation. The SA is strengthened with more young men being encouraged to join. The image of the organisation was changed, placing the emphasis on discipline and order rather than violence and intimidation. This is an organisation to join and take pride in your appearance and be proud to be a part of. Nazi organisations are also established, set up to appeal to certain interest groups, including the Nazi Students' League and the Teachers' League, as well as the Women's League, remembering women can vote in Weimar Germany, so the Nazis recognise, obviously, that's very important because you need to appeal to the entire country, not just the male population. In addition to that, you start seeing the origins of the Nazi youth movement, organised to appeal to the young, fun activities, with the intention of being, long-term indoctrination, isn't it? In agricultural areas, from 1928 onwards, the Nazis focused much more on winning support in agricultural areas. This was because of the Depression, which had affected farming throughout the 1920s and worsened in 1927 with a further slump in food prices. So, with all these rebranding and all these changes to the Nazi Party, who would have voted for them? Well, first off, younger members who greatly admired Hitler, including ex-soldiers. The middle classes would have voted for Hitler because they lost out as a result of the Weimar Republic's failure to deal with the French invasion of the Ruhr which led to hyperinflation. So far we've got young members who admire Hitler, extremist uni students, middle class groups, because they have suffered under the Weimar government. They're also terrified of communism. The middle classes are terrified of communism because it will take away their wealth. So you get craftsmen, clerks and merchants, middle classes effectively, because they see Hitler as favourable to communism and a way of stopping communism. Farmers would have voted for them because they were badly affected by the fall in food prices of the 1920s and the onset of the depression in agriculture, as well as skilled workers. Now, crucially, despite all this, although Nazi Party membership continues to increase to 100,000 plus by 1928, the Nazis still don't do very well in Reichstag elections. For example, in 1924, they have 32 seats, and in 1928, they have 12 seats. Why, despite all of the Nazi Party's reorganisation, all these policies, are they not getting more votes? Well, it's because of the policies of Gustav Stresemann. His policy of fulfillment means that the Weimar Republic is recovering during this time. So effectively, what you're seeing here is the Nazi Party reorganise from 1924 onwards, and they're just putting themselves in a position of strength whereby as soon as the Weimar Republic begins to struggle, the Nazi Party is there ready to pounce and capitalise on it. So whilst they're not getting many votes during this time, they're organising themselves so that they can pounce when their time comes. And it will do, won't it? Because in 1929, you get the Wall Street crash. And that's where you'll see all these tactics start to, they'll start to get the rewards for these tactics that you're seeing here.